excited to have Brandon Sanderson visit us. How we are worthy, we may never know. We're just grateful.
Pardon me?
Here to spend the evening with us, the astonishing Brandon Sanderson.
And thank you guys. So what I'm going to do tonight is I will do a short kind of speech thing. I'm university trained. You give me a microphone, I will start talking about stuff. I promise it's only like 7 minutes or so. And then we'll do a Q&A. And for the Q&A, I have prizes for people who ask questions. They are, do you guys know what a lenticular is? They're a thing that they change. And so what they are is they're postcards where they show like one of the cities from the Reckoner's books, and then you twist it and it's destroyed. They're very fun, and it's her birthday, so I'm gonna give her one. Yeah. So we'll give you those out if you ask questions. So be thinking about what you want to ask, and then after that, I will do a reading, and the reading's actually from Stormlight Book 3. Which, for those of you who like the Stormlight books, and that reading's a little bit longer. It's like 20 minutes long. So all together, I expect this to be about 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. So if all you want is your book signed, and you're like your daughter sent you or something like that, you can go take off for 50 minutes and then come back and we'll do the book signing. So my speech thing. About 10 years ago, I made a really bad choice. Now, I didn't know that I was making a bad choice at the time. What happened was, when I first got published, I got published by a publisher named Tor. And I had been sending them books for several years, and eventually they said yes. And I didn't then take those books and shop them around, because that was Robert Jordan's publisher. That's where I wanted to be. And so that's who I published with. Then I had this other book series that I wrote after it called Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. There's some Alcatraz fans here. They are very goofy. They are very silly books. And these books we sent out to a bunch of publishers, and 3 of them got back wanting to publish it. And so this was the first time I'd had to make a real choice about my publishing career. And so I called all the editors, and I made the call. I picked a publisher. Well, it turns out it was a bad choice, because 6 months later, the editor at the publisher left and went to a different publisher, and I got orphaned. And this isn't the cool kind of orphaning where you become Batman. I suppose that's not very cool. Any orphaning is not cool. But regardless, I didn't become a superhero. Instead, what happened is my book series got given to a different editor at the publisher who didn't really like them very much. And so the first book was well edited, it had a nice cover, it did very well, and the second book just kind of tanked. And then like the 3rd and 4th books, Borders didn't even pick them up, Barnes & Noble did. So I credit that with why Borders failed. But these books just crashed and burned. The editor just didn't care about them, and I felt really bad about that. And over the years, it really started me thinking about choice, and about choices, and about how we make choices as human beings. Because I don't know if there are any psychologists here in the crowd, but it turns out, I've read up on it, human beings are actually kind of bad at making choices. So I hear some laughter. If you know what, like if we have more than like 2 or 3 choices, we tend to get paralyzed. It's really difficult for us to make choices. You can find this out simply by asking a group of friends where they want to go to dinner, right? They just know, there'll be like 10 of you, and no one can offer any options, right? And the research is all contradictory because it's psychology research and it's like that, but a lot of it says that the more choices we have, the more difficult it is to make a choice, and oftentimes the worse we feel about the choice once we make it, which is really interesting to me. I ran into this again in publishing the books that many of you now have, the Reckoner's books. Because once again, I wrote this book. It was this fun kind of goofy book. I sent it out, and a bunch of publishers wanted to publish it, which is a great experience, by the way. This is first world author problem, right? Oh no, too many publishers want to give me lots of money to publish my books. What am I going to do? But it really was, this time, a really difficult decision, because I knew before I'd made the wrong decision, and it had killed the series, right? And so this time, I really stressed about making this choice, which publisher to go with for the Reckoner's book, for Steelheart. And I agonized over it. And this actually relates. This relates to a question a lot of people ask me when they come up through the line. Because one of the number one questions I get from people is, how do you deal with writer's block? Writer's block, which is interesting, because I think writer's block is the same problem. Writer's block is a matter of choice. In fact, the blank page, you could say, is like the ultimate choice, right? You could put anything on that page, and you can get paralyzed very easily about what do you put on the page. And so people ask me, what do you do about writer's block? And kind of my answer is that I just write something anyway. Oftentimes, if I'm having writer's block, what I need to do is I need to write a chapter poorly, put it aside the next day, and then write it over again after my subconscious has had time to work on it. And if I don't ever write it the first time, then I will never get around to that, right? So it's, in a lot of ways, I have to fail in writing this chapter before I can write it the right way. And this is kind of, in my opinion, like the way that you deal with choice, right? You have to give yourself permission to fail at that choice. If I was sitting there with the Reckoner's books, and I eventually realized I just have to make a call. I can't have perfect information. I can't know which of these, publishers will be the best. And it felt to me like I was stressing about so much, not because I wanted to pick the right publisher, but because I was worried about screwing it up. And it occurs to me that the people coming through the line that are talking about writer's block, what they're really saying is not, how do I write the right thing? It is, what if I write something bad and it means I'm a hack, right? It's like, what if I screw this up? What if I write the wrong thing? And you just have to go ahead and write it. You have to give yourself permission to be bad at something long enough to be good at it. And if you're gonna have a decision, you have to be willing to make a decision, even if it means you might fail. And so with the Reckoner's books, it turned out all right. I made my decision, and actually this time my editor stayed. I've got the same editor. She's great. She's Krista. And she supported the books all the way through, and this one came out, and this week it's #1 on the New York Times list. Yay! It's a pitiful attempt at getting applause. And so, this time I have a happy story. And even those Alcatraz books, the ones that failed, they got another chance. We've just republished them. They came out last week from my current publisher. I took them back from the old publisher that didn't really care about them and gave them a new publisher, and they've got these great covers and things like that. And so I guess what I'm just saying to you is make those choices. And if you're an artist, give yourself permission to be bad at your art long enough to get good at it. And if you let yourself fail, you will actually succeed a little more often. Thank you guys very much. Now, for the Q&A, could I have a volunteer who is willing, you want to do this? Come on up. All right, your job is when I call on somebody, you run over and give them one of these, okay? And then you can have one for yourself as a thank you for doing this. Got it? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this by section. So I'm going to take everyone from this pillar over. You can ask questions first, and then I'll do the middle group, and then I'll do this group, because I can't look all directions at once. It always makes me feel bad when I'm taking questions over here, and everyone over here is raising hands. So if any of you guys have any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, in the back right there.
Are you serious about doing a Warbreaker sequel?
Am I serious about doing a Warbreaker sequel? Yes, I am. I am. And so here's the grand list of sequels. And I'm working on Stormlight 3 right now. That is my current project. Thank you. You can follow the percentage bar on my website. These are big books that take a long time to write, and a long time to edit and get continuity right. So once I finish it, it'll be about a year until it comes out. Okay, so watch when I say the first draft's done, count on about a year. After that, I'm going to probably write the second arithmetist book, for those who are big fans of arithmetist, and then I will write most likely because I like to alternate adult YA, I will probably do the next Wax and Wayne book, the last of those. And then I will do a new project for Random House that's in the same universe as the Reckoners, and then I will do Stormlight 4. So that's kind of my foreseeable future. You didn't hear Warbreaker in there, so it's going to have to come as one of my kind of epic fantasy projects after the Wax and Wayne books are done. It'll be, and there's only 4 of those, so only one more. So when that's done, that's when you'll see me doing that, okay? Any other questions? Go ahead, right here.
I have a huge list, so I'm just going to randomly pick one.
Okay, randomly pick one. Try not to ask the ones right here that are spoilers for my books. If you have spoiler questions, you ask them when you come through the line, okay?